Hello, good afternoon and welcome to News Today on your Join News channel here on Multi TV. Coming up, probe into circumstances leading to death of 9 persons following a stampede at Asawasi in the Ashanti region begins. We'll be live in the region and bring you updates from there. Also ahead, senior lecturer at the Faculty of Law of the University of Ghana, Dr. Raymond Atuguba, discounts assertions the Electoral Commission has been ordered by the Supreme Court to delete names of persons who registered with National Health Insurance cards. And General Secretary and Campaign Chairman of the ruling National Democratic Congress, Johnson Esiedun Ketia, charges Ghanaians to commend President Mahama for effectively dealing with the power crisis in the country despite a surge in interruptions over the past few months. We have details of these stories and a lot more, including business, sports, entertainment, as well as international updates, all coming up in this 1 hour bulletin. Stay with us. My name is Kwabna Chenchen. Many thanks for joining us here on News Today to have our first story. The ZAR and the Progressive People's Party will in the coming days be filing a suit at the High Court to compel government to enforce the free compulsory universal basic education as enshrined in the Constitution. The party is also calling on Parliament to invoke its powers of investigations to look into the President's decision to accept a car gift from a Burkinabe contractor. Joseph Akable is there currently and is joining me on phone now with more on what the Progressive People's Party has been saying. Joseph, can you hear me? If you can hear me, good afternoon. Thank you very much for joining us. Can you tell us more about what the Progressive People's Party has been saying at this media briefing?
Well, good afternoon, Kwabna. Now, the Progressive People's Party have held a press conference here at its headquarters. It's been addressed by the National Secretary Murtala Mohammed. Now, on the issue of the FQ, the point the Secretary has been making is the fact that earlier last year in May, the party filed a suit at the Supreme Court calling on the courts to force government to enforce the free compulsory universal basic education. But there was a ruling from the court saying that on that particular suit, there was no matter of interpretation and that the constitutional provision that it borders on was one that could be dealt with by a high court. So the Supreme Court directed that the party goes ahead to file that suit at the high court. So the secretary is saying that the party has taken that advice now and will in the coming days be filing the suit at the high court to compel government to enforce that. He says that education is very important and we have children roaming our streets, and it's important that they have access to education. So that is it on the issue concerning the...
Yes, Joseph, and I know they have been speaking on quite a number of other issues, including this raging debate of voters register and the deletion of some names and all. Can you tell us more about that as well?
Now, concerning the voters register, now the secretary has described the tussle between Abu Ramadan, the plaintiff in this particular one, over the NHIS registrant, as well as the Electoral Commission. He has described that as much ado over nothing. Now, he says that the numbers that we are looking at in terms of the NHIS registrants are not the cause of a bloated register, and that each time we even call for a new register and we open for registration, the NDC and NPP end up recruiting people who are unqualified and minors to ensure that they get onto the register. So what they are saying is that the way forward is that in the long term, we should be making use of the National Identification Authority, and that will solve the problem. But in terms of opening the register in the short time, that will not solve the main problem. So they want the process, the register to be clean, and they're also saying that the way to go is not to take out the NHIS registrant because they are just a minority on the register. Now, just a quick one concerning the issue of the fraud gifts. You recall that the party filed a petition at the Commission for Human Rights and Administrative Justice to investigate the matter as to whether there is a conflict of interest about the president receiving a fraud gift. Now, they are saying that they are calling on Parliament to invoke its powers of investigation. They are saying that despite the confidence they have in Shraj, they are of the opinion that in the event that investigation fails, they still don't want the matter to be allowed to go just like that. So they want Parliament to investigate this issue as well.
Right. Joseph Akable, many thanks for that update. And that was Joint News reporter Joseph Akable with an update on the situation at the Progressive People's Party's headquarters. Well, today they have actually been holding a media briefing on quite a number of issues. I think we can now take you live to the grounds and bring you more on what has been transpiring there.
More ignorant You said something that you need to educate the people to prevent sickness. Now, all over on TV and you hear people they are living in mosquito nets. In the days of our forefathers, they always keep their environment clean. Nobody told them to. They were not as educated as we are now. So, does it mean that we who call ourselves educated, we don't know that we have to clean our environment? I don't think this is a question, but I'm just doing this one.
System will work.
Look, it's a contribution. You can see everybody is membering around. It means we have a failed state. Education is supposed to uplift. Education is supposed to change for the good. It can't be the perverted one. So that's miseducation. It's not education. Do you understand me? So the point is, this is a failed state. Yeah. So this is a failed state. That's what you experience. So give somebody else the opportunity to change that. You can't continue to do the same thing over the period and the same thing keeps happening.
But unfortunately, change doesn't happen overnight. So how?
But it starts.
And that was National Secretary of the Progressive People's Party, Murtala Mohammed, addressing the media there. And in fact, it was a live transmission of that very media briefing. But let's still stay with some issues relating to the courts. And a senior lecturer at the Faculty of Law of the University of Ghana, Dr. Raymond Atuguba, has once again waded into the ongoing controversy of a Supreme Court ruling ordering the Electoral Commission to delete names of persons who registered onto the roll with national health insurance cards. Now, in the 22-page writing, the learned lawyer said the Supreme Court cannot order the automatic deletion of names from the register. Raymond Akwa has more.
First, he's saying that it is not true that Abu Ramadan went to court with specific reliefs in a clarification and they were all granted. To him, all the 4 reliefs that were being sought, it was only half of one that was actually granted. To him, what was even granted was modified, actually retuned, and the Supreme Court decided to grant that. Putting it together, what he is saying is that what has been out there, that there has been massive victory for Abu Ramadan, is really much ado about nothing. He moved on to also take the issues one by one and say the cracks of what has even been granted is not different from each June 23rd directive. Indeed, the May 5th ruling said clearly that people who were on the voters register with national health insurance card should be removed, but given the opportunity to also re-register. He insists that the Supreme Court meant that that will be done by due process, and due process in this case means the EC's process according to its laws. He also explained that just because the court said it had powers under 2.2 to say this thing, it does not necessarily mean that he cannot, as in the court, cannot insist on the right thing being done through due process, and that it wants to sideline due process and go ahead with what's supposed to be an automatic removal. To this end, he says there are people who got on the voters register with NHIS cards up until the time that it was declared unconstitutional in 2014. The people were clearly people who had legitimate rights to be on the register. So, if a decision that comes after they were on the register, you cannot use an illegal means to remove them. He says that the current discussion that says the court insists they should be removed immediately by the EC before a discussion proceeds to do what they call it, a re-registration, is wrong. What he is saying is that the court said, and that people misunderstand what the court said, go through the right process. That's why the court did not say automatically delete them, or delete them right now before it discusses any other issue. He says the court insists the deletion should be done with a plan and notification to the people involved. The discussion really has been that can the EC do the deletion and re-registration before it continues with this mandate under CI 91, that is exhibition on the 29th. That's the crux of our discussion. It has never really been that the AC is supposed to abandon everything and do this one. What the Supreme Court said, and when it stressed on the Article 2.2, it said, we want you to do this before you continue with the exhibition. It didn't say that we wanted you to remove the people and later on go and inform them.
And away from that, President John Dramani Mahama has today resumed his Accounting to the People tour as he heads to the Upper West region. Well, indeed, we know that he's currently there as we speak. The president will, in the next 3 days, commission several projects while cutting sword for some new ones. Let's get more on the president's tour in the Upper West region from correspondent Rafik Salam, who joins us on phone now with those details. So, Rafik, can you tell us whether or not, well, indeed, now we know that the president has arrived. What is he expected to do and currently where is he now?
The president sat down about 25 minutes ago at the airstrip, and he quickly moved to the site for the construction of the 160-bed hospital that was started about 7 years ago. And so he moved there quickly and he inspected the project. And then the engineers at the site, one man whose name is given as Abu Shama, told the president that work on the site has gone to 75% completed. And then they are expected to complete the project late October. And so he took the president around the structure, and then the president really was happy with what he saw. And so the president says that he's hopeful that come October he will join the people of the Upper West region to commission the project. From now we are going to the Nas Palace, where he's going to pay a courtesy call on the overlord of the Wana and some opinion leaders in the West traditional area. And so that's where we are heading towards now.
Right. Rafik, many thanks for that update. We'll come back to you a little later on for some more on the president's tour of the Upper West region. You are watching news today here on your Joy channel on Multi TV. We're taking a break. We'll be back shortly with some more stories. Stay with us. Many thanks for staying with us here on News Today. Some politics now, and the NDC is keen on ensuring complacency does not become a problem this election year. Now, that's the guiding principle being adopted by the party's campaign chairman, Johnson Asiedu-Nketia, who says bitter lessons from 2012 have compelled the party to adopt this strategy. In an exclusive interview with Joy News' Francis Aban, General Secretary and now chairman of the NDC's campaign team, Johnson Asiedu-Nketia, said the party will campaign on the achievements of government to win power come November 7. Commenting on the power crisis, Mr. Asiedu-Nketia said Ghanaians ought to be commending the president for dealing with the challenges rather than criticizing him. Now, his comments come on the back of recent power cuts attributed to the lack of crude.
It's been a very difficult 4 years. No campaign has ever been easy. And leading the campaign, I don't think that the best approach is to just look at the campaign and begin congratulating yourself before you go to the battlefield. Every battle is a battle, every war is a war. So you approach it with all the seriousness. If it turns out that your opponent is weaker than you had anticipated, it will be victory all the same. Those who went to court, whose cause is being supported fiercely by MPP, they went to court to seek about 5 reliefs. They got 1 and lost all the 4, and they are jubilating. And it is something that is very characteristic of our colleagues on the other side. They enjoy losing. So when they lose, they jubilate. The energy crisis has been our biggest problem. It's affected everything, even including the economy. So how then do you say that the president has done well even with this challenge?
You look at what would have happened. You only know what has happened with President Mahama in charge. But I guess if you spend some time looking at what would have happened for the measures put in place, you would appreciate the value of President Mahama's leadership and how it has impacted positively, even if the problem is not completely solved.
What's your favorite food?
Food? Oh, red and fufu.
Why that?
Red. Because I wish I could explain why I like you. I just like you. That's all.
That's all. You just love it.
I love it.
Music? What's your musical choice like? Reggae. Yeah.
Who's your favorite reggae artist?
The king himself. Why would you leave the king there and be worshipping the messenger?
Campaign message for this year?
I guess that question is premature. we are doing our things methodically. This is the coordinating committee that has been announced. It will be outdoored, and then we will outdoor our manifesto that will contain the key message for the elections. So at that point, you know about what we want to, sell to Ghanaians. Besides our presidential candidate, he has to carry a message, and that's what we'll be selling. But essentially, it will be about defending our record of how we have used the mandate that has been given us in the past 3 years, and then to generate confidence and ask Ghanaians why they should, demonstrate to Ghanaians why they should give us another 4 years. So that's what it's going to be about, and we will in power.
Is that to say there will be no room for complacency?
No, as I have said, we don't entertain complacency in our elections, knowing what complacency can do. We had a bitter lesson in 2000 when everybody appeared to be complacent, and then we found ourselves losing the election. So we are not going to give room for complacency. I have always said that, look, if you prepare very well for a battle and you go and it is easy, you still win. If you prepare well and you meet at the battleground and it is very difficult, because of the state of your preparedness, you can still win. So the important thing is to win. Well, it's not about over preparation. We will prepare very adequately and go into battle.
For the last 4 years, the issues that have come up in the country have been centered on two major things: the state of the economy and then the persistent energy crisis. In your view, why have we not been able to fix it well enough?
Well, in any problem you want to tackle, you deal with internal factors, you deal with external factors, and so on. I'm not going to preempt our message, but I can tell you that Ghana has been better off getting somebody like President Mahama in charge of affairs, because if you look at the achievements and you compare it with the challenges, you see that we've done better than most other countries.
But some say the energy crisis has been our biggest problem. It's affected everything, even including the economy. So how then do you say that the president has done well even with this challenge?
You look at what would have happened. You only know what has happened with President Mahama in charge. But I guess if you spend some time looking at what would have happened but for the measures put in place, you would appreciate the value of President Mahama's leadership and how it has impacted positively. Even if the problem is not completely solved, you look at how it has impacted positively, and you by all means gives us thumbs up, because you are talking about energy cooperation within a sub-region that is volatile. It is unpredictable, and so on and so forth. Our biggest problem now has been the cooperation among the 4 countries in putting together this West African gas pipeline, and the challenges it has brought on board. That's one of our biggest problems, but I guess we are managing.
Well, that full interview will be aired later this afternoon at 3 p.m. on our news and news analysis program, The Pulse with Francis Arban. But away from politics now, and investigations have begun into circumstances leading to the death of 9 persons following a stampede at Asawasi last night. The deaths occurred after power to a community center in the area was cut abruptly during a Salah party. The situation led to some confusion and subsequently a stampede. The survivor has been narrating the incident to my colleague Erastus Saridonko.
After the jams ended, the lights were turned off and there was a sudden rush to the gate. It was just a small exit which was even locked. We were all packed up at one place with no air to breathe and no chance of going out either. Some tried climbing the gate to pull others up, but all attempts proved futile since some body parts might be locked up somewhere, preventing movement. For about an hour, the whole place was stuffed with stale air. Myself, I was being stepped upon. I couldn't even move any part of my body. Some people died due to the excessive heat, others because of the stampede.
Let's get more as far as updates are concerned. And joining me on phone now is Erastus. I don't call with those details. Erastus, what's the update to the story?
Well, the update we have on this story is that the Municipal Security Council chairman, that is Asawasi Mampong, under which at the fall, Honorable Nuruddin Hamidan and other security agencies are here. The autopsy I learned has been done on the victims to establish what caused their death, but the findings have not been made known. Currently, they are locked up in a meeting deciding on what the next plan will be. But the Air Force Police Commander, he is in charge of this situation, and he says that so far they've received varying degrees of accounts concerning what triggered the panic reaction in the community center that led to the death. And so far they've received 3 of them, one being that they were running away from scares that the police were coming in there, another being that it created a panic reaction that they were going to fight or they were going to beat up somebody, and so that created a panic reaction as well. And then the third one is that of an electric meter which gave some sparks in there, the sound of which sounded like a gunshot, and so it sent people in a panic reaction. So far, they are working with this theory, but they are saying that no law has been broken at the moment. They are not going to arrest anybody for now, but when their investigations point to the direction that somebody really played a part in all this, then they bring that person to do.
Erastus, I know you've been speaking to quite a number of people, including some Muslim cleric there, as well as the municipal chief executive. Let's start off with the representative of the chief imam whom you've been speaking to. What has he been saying?
Well, I have been speaking with Ahadi Isaac, who is secretary to the regional chief imam, giving a similar account that the artist who performed that night had some issues with the person in terms of tribal sentiments from the northern region. And so they decided to beat up that guy and he ran away. They are saying that that is what they have heard. Meanwhile, they are calling for a temporary closure of the facility, that's the Asawasi Community Center, to all manner of programs, ceremonies, until investigations being conducted by the police and the Metropolitan Security Council have been completed, and then they know whether to redevelop the place or close it down completely. That is what is coming from the regional chief imam's office. Currently, at the Menchia Government Hospital, where I'm standing now, we have scores of relatives coming in here. Those who have not found their relatives, loved ones yet, they are cross-checking with the bodies, they are cross-checking with the injured to find out whether these are indeed their loved ones and they are okay. So that is the current situation now.
Right. Okay. Erastus, many thanks for that update. And that was Ashanti Regional Correspondent Erastus Asaredonko, who works with our sister station Love FM in Kumasi, bringing us updates from the region as far as the deaths of those 9 persons in that stampede at Asawasi in the region is concerned. We are taking another break here on News Today. When we come back, we'll bring you updates in business and sports. Stay on.
And now some time for business, and the disbursement of the 3rd tranche of the IMF cash to Ghana before the end of this month might be under threat. Joy Business understands that the expected board meeting, which should have happened around this time to aid the disbursement, could delay for a while. But What could be the implications of this development on the economy? George Rafi has more in this report.
IMF's own timetable on Ghana, the board of the fund should have met around this time to review the country's performance and make the necessary recommendations for the release of some $160 million to the Bank of Ghana. Checks by Joy Business indicates that Ghana was not on the agenda for the board review in June and even this month, which has always been the time it meets to review Ghana's performance under the program. However, sources say the challenge has come about because of delays by the IMF staff in concluding its report on Ghana's progress. Joy Business is learning that the staff report has also been delayed due to challenges by the Ghanaian authorities in meeting some critical performance targets under the program, like the passage of the Bank of Ghana Act and strategies to address the rising debts of state-owned institutions. For some, this development might just not be good for the economy. This is because government is not just looking for the IMF cash, but also a good report from the fund that it can use to convince investors and donors that is on track when it comes to stabilizing the economy. Delays in approving Ghana's performance could also affect efforts to issue the country's fourth Eurobond before the end of the third quarter of this year, and even plans to review targets set out in the 2016 budget this month.
And George, we have filed that report. And in a related development, economist Dr. John Kwachi says the only option now is for the IMF to forgive government over its inability to meet some critical targets.
Sometimes they grant waivers. You see, if they think that maybe what the outstanding reforms, maybe they can forgive the government because of they were unforeseen circumstances and things like that. They can waive them, but they don't have to be too many. If there are too many, the board will also not agree to. You grant waivers for all of them. For instance, in one of the reviews, I remember they granted a waiver for our non-observance of domestic payment arrears. I mean, not accumulating, I think, one of the arrears. And they saw that it was a minor thing, so they granted waiver. So there's always that provision that if it's just some minor infractions, they'll grant you waivers. We have to go back to the program to see exactly when it is supposed to have been enacted, to be able to know whether they have breached it. I don't remember exactly what the timetable is for that. But so the Bank of Ghana Act and maybe other performance, other structural reforms that they are supposed to have undertaken, until the review comes out, we don't have inside information to be able to know exactly what has been done and what has not been done.
And finally, the Ghana Pharmacy Council is calling on government to consider imposing some preferential tariffs for the pharmaceutical sector to avoid possible collapse. Industry players say the mounting electricity bills members have had to pay is driving up many businesses. Speaking to Joy Business, the Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Pharmacy Council, Anthony Ameka, said government should, as a matter of urgency, support the sector.
If you take, for instance, the manufacturing sector, immediately you start manufacturing, the whole system, including the quality system, the lab, everything must be operational. So it means you have to run all your machines at the same time. And then your chilling system must also be working. We are looking at certain type of medicines that have to be stored under a certain temperature. So previously, some of the companies were buying about 10 million cedis a week. At the moment, because of the high cost on utilities, some of them are paying close to 33 million cedis per week. So we are appealing to the government and other regulatory institutions that if the government could give the manufacturing sector a rebate or a preferential rate, that will go a long way to also cut down the cost of operation. Because as it stands, some members of the chamber may be tempted to import instead of producing.
They importing or they may be tempted?
They may be tempted. They may be tempted to import finished products because of the high cost of operation, especially the utilities. So if we are giving differential rates, it will help to cut down costs. At the moment, some of our members or the manufacturers are stressed up because of the high cost of operation, especially with regard to the utilities.
So that will be it for business, but there is more business between 1 and 1:30 on the marketplace. You can also log on to myjoyonline.com/business for more. My name is John Kojo Amwako. Coming up next is sports.
Let's talk some entertainment here on Joy News today. Now, the much anticipated Salah Fest concert happened on Tuesday with exciting performances from some seasoned artists here in Ghana. Let's recap some highlights on the night.
I won't be anywhere else, you know. Dogo Yaro is a banger, and I have to be here to represent and make sure that people feel us live. Yeah.
To pay homage to my people, to contribute my little that I can contribute, and you know, to help them celebrate their Eid al-Fitr.
I think over the years, the concept keeps what's the word there? Yeah, changing, and it's become really apparent that we actually look out for the underground even a little bit more than the big boys.
It's election year, and popular Ghanaian actor Dumelo has revealed his support for President John Mahama and has stated reasons why he thinks he should be retained for another 4 years.
Creating jobs. Fine, we have the Commander Sugar Factory, we have the support that the government or the Ministry of Agriculture is giving to people who want to go into agric. We have the YEA, we have the Maslock. We have so many opportunities that the young people can actually go and access.
Was it a difficult choice deciding between the MPP and the NDC?
It wasn't difficult. I mean, it's obvious. It's obvious that from now to 2020, under the leadership of John Dramani Mahama and under the leadership of the NDC, things will get better. So for me, I just weighed both options. I realized that, okay, you know what, this group of people would offer more to the people of Ghana. That is why I chose in the NDC. And ever since I came out to say that, oh, look, you know what, I like the NDC, I like the president, people have been bashing me and stuff. But at the end of the day, excuse me, it's choice. Everybody has a choice.
And does it make you feel that you made a bad choice? Or
No. I made the excellent choice. Somebody on the street, when I speak to somebody will say, oh, you know what, me, I like Nanado, so I'm going to vote for Nanado. That is your choice. So if my choice is the NDC, my choice is John Dramani Mahama, my vote will go for him. There's nothing wrong. I don't see why people should insult other people for making a choice. I don't see why people should threaten other people for making a choice. I think that is unacceptable.
On that note, we end entertainment here on Joy News Today. My name is Becky.
And that's how we wrap up on News Today this afternoon on your Joy News channel here on Multi TV. My name is Kwabena Chenchen. Remember, there's more news when you visit www.myjoyonline.com. The Marketplace comes up next with John Kujamwako. Many thanks for your company.